How many spaces do you put after the period at the end of a sentence? I always put 2 spaces after a period at the end of the sentence. That's the way I learned it from Mrs. Miller back in the day. No, that's just wrong. You should only put 1 space after the period at the end of your sentence, not 2 spaces. Relax, guys. I can settle this. For the vast majority of us who are using proportionally spaced fonts or proportional fonts, 1 space after the period is correct. In the rare occasions where we might be using monospaced fonts or non-proportional fonts, 2 spaces after the period is correct. So what's the difference between monospaced fonts and proportional fonts? Well, first, let's take a look at monospaced fonts. These are our traditional typewriter fonts, such as Courier, that use the same amount of horizontal space for each letter. In the example, you can see that the horizontal space occupied by the letter W is the same as the letter O and the letter I. If you learned how to type on a typewriter or an early word processor, you probably learned that monospaced fonts get a double space after the period, and that is correct. Now let's look at proportionally spaced fonts. These fonts, such as Arial, Calibri, Times New Roman, and Verdana, use a different amount of horizontal space depending on the width of the letter. In the example, we can see that the horizontal space used for the letter W is much wider than that used by the letter I. So they're proportionally spaced. The letter O is somewhere in between the two. These are the fonts that are used with modern word processors. 99.9% of the work we do today is probably with proportionally spaced fonts, and they get a single space after the period. That is, our word processors are smart enough to know to make that space a little wider to make it visually appealing. And we can wrap this up by taking a look or just comparing our monospace fonts, which get a double space after the period, and our proportionally spaced fonts that get a single space after the period. I hope this was helpful. Please leave a comment below if you'd like to contribute to the conversation. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Thanks. Don't forget to visit us on the web. Thanks.